Video 4, my favorite knives that I own. I'm going to try to wrap it up with this one because that's 4 videos, just knives, man. That's a lot of videos. It's the next one on the list. Is this Cold Steel South African made machete. Now this is a kukri, 18-inch Magnum machete. So I painted the sheath coyote. It's been a couple of different camos. I painted the blade coyote. Okay. So this is coyote colored blade. I tried to paint the handle coyote, but it would not take the paint, more or less. It did not want to take it. So I ended up, I cleaned the black handle, the craton handle, I cleaned it. And then it does have coyote down in the grooves and stuff. So it did adhere some coyote there, so it's got some black shadow like effect, so that's pretty cool. But don't go far without a machete in the South American jungle or any other jungle, because the machete is your life. Okay. Now I have a machete down here, which this one did tag along with me. I used the crap out of it in South America. But this old machete here, this old bolo, made in Brazil, by the way, it needs a new handle. It's got a crack. It's got a broken handle, actually. It's cracked, started there and it broke, but it stays in place because it's like a puzzle piece and it's riveted. I'll end up, if I got the time, I'll end up taking these scales off, cleaning up this blade a bit, and putting some brand new hardwood scales on there. I also want to make a better sheath. This sheath is a piece of crap, but it worked. You know, I've had this thing for donkey's years. This is a very old machete, and it made a lot of survival shelters in South American jungle. Now this machete is one that I got a number of years ago from Cold Steel, and it's a Magnum kukri, and it's hair shaving sharp. Let me tell you, I could do feather sticks, whatever I want. I could probably, you know, even though it's kind of long, let's go ahead and get an animal skinned up with that. Any machete that does not have any little dings and damage towards the end up here means that they never used it. And you can kind of work those out, you know, as you use it. If it gets a little bit too dinged up, then, you know, work it out. You know, you could use a light filing and then strop it, and then those will go away, because your machete should be around 53 to 55 Rockwell. You know, softer so it can, you know, do what it needs to do without snapping and so on. Slightly flexible, but not too flexible. This one throws sparks off of the 90-degree spine. You know, I wrapped this one with paracord, so it's got coyote paracord wrap on it, super tight. And of course I have the lanyard for my hand. But yeah, this is an excellent tool. Never go far without a machete in South America or any other jungle. Always remember that. It's your life. Never think that you're going to get by with just a sheath knife. Okay? You want a machete. So back in the day, I had the original one of these brewers, and this was my combo right here. machete, brewer survival knife. And I got a couple other favorite knives. They're not here. They're Cold Steels, but they're not easily accessible because I got them packed away. But after the brewer went missing, I got the Cold Steel Recon Scout USA Carbon 5, and that went to the jungle and other places. Excellent knife, the original. They've been so many different countries and steels since the original. I would not buy a new Cold Steel Recon Scout or even a Trailmaster unless maybe it was made in Japan. If it was made in Japan, that's a different story. But who knows? I mean, they had made some in China, some in Taiwan. I wouldn't buy those. It's just my opinion. But anyways, I did get a Cold Steel Trailmaster recently, but it was a new old stock from Ventura back when Lynn Thompson was still involved. And that is a really a beautiful knife. It's one of my favorites. It's not here, but it's packed away in some kit for ready for service. Let's see here. That is the San Mai III, layered steel, and that was made in Japan. There's one knife maker in Japan that makes those. He makes them for Cold Steel, and he makes them for Fall Niven. Okay. Made by the same guy. Just so you know. Layered steel. Next one. We go with the old Tops Bushcrafter Kukri. This was my knife here. My knife design. I did a lot of videos with this thing, a lot of stuff. This is a full convex. I made this particular edge the way that I had intended it to be, because it does not come this way from the factory. That's why I put up the sharpening videos and stuff, so that you guys can do it yourself. I just don't have time to be messing with knives these days, but as far as sharpening and so on. But I did a number of these customized for different people over the years. But this is a heck of a knife. I designed this to be, a lot of people think kukri and they think chopper, but this is a medium-sized knife. And I got my original kukri from which was a Nepalese made, or Nepalese style kukri, but it was a British Army issue knife, okay? And I got it from a British soldier, right? We did some trading, let's just say, we did some trading. He had two. How he had two, I don't know, but he had two. And I mean, I wanted that knife, and I got it. It took some finagling, some back and forth, but I got the knife, and it was cool and everything. But I mean, it was just too large and stuff for everyday use. I mean, it was great for chopping, right? But it really wasn't a good all-around knife, in my opinion. You put it on your belt, and like the Power Eagle. Power Eagle is not for everyday use. It's a purpose-driven knife. You're gonna go out and you're gonna encounter some stuff that you need to chop down and whatnot. But this knife, I was actually leaning against a tree drinking water from my canteen one day, and I was looking at that other knife, and I was envisioning this knife, more or less. Now, the original design called for a saw back here. If anybody has any pull-at tops, you know, we need to get that saw back on there. Anyway, my design, I went through a couple of little revisions with Mike over it because he really wanted this in his lineup, you know. He wanted an everyday woodsman's kukri, you know, in the lineup. And so we talked and talked and talked, and I came up with the spelling on the kukri because it needed to be different than everybody else's. So we spelled it the way we did for our own reasons. I came up with the name. Mike said he agreed with it. He liked it, liked the way I came up with the name, and we went with it. Anyway, this thing is super sharp. You know, I mean, it is a completely convexed. Man, it is really a nice edge on that thing. And you know, convex goes a long way in the field. You don't really have to resharpen it. You just have to keep touching it up as you go. You know, I mean, you pull feather sticks like mad with this thing. This sheath here was the sheath that they talked me into. I did not design this sheath. This sheath was Tops has sheaths made by a sheath maker, and he made this sheath to go with this knife. There's another sheath that looks like it, but it's not the same. It's different widths. But anyway, that's all on the sheath maker. So it's not that I designed this sheath or any other person designed the sheath. It's the sheath maker designed the sheath to go with the knife. And anyway, I've done quite a few mods to this sheath over the years. Got snaps, and got this extra there, and yeah, there's this big pocket you could put a survival tin in there. I've got a fire steel holder here. I've got one of the pouches that I had done up, the old military pouch. I put double poppers on there, double snaps. And one of the companies out there that does web gear, they started doing their pouches like that. They have 2-position snaps. Anyway, so there you go, Bushcraft or kukri. So, very, very good knife. Works even better when you have the complete convex edge on it. Okay. As I intended. Factory doesn't do it, you have to do it yourself. You should do it, because then the knife really, really shines. Okay. I'm going to do one more knife, and then I'm going to stop because I'm at the end here. So this is a custom David Beck tracker wilderness survival knife. He did for me, and I made this sheath. Okay, this is Desert Tiger Stripe. I made the sheath on here, and I made this pouch. I made the pouch. It's a custom pouch, Desert Tiger Stripe, and he made this sheath for me. It's a Really nice sheath. I changed out the D-rings to these Coyote Brown D-rings. I put a fire steel on here, firesteel.com. Hey Ron. So Ron at firesteel.com makes these key style fire steels, which I like because my hands are all messed up these days. You know, they don't work quite right anymore. And what else? I made this double dangler, which I shared this with David Beck. So it's a Duraflex. They call this the Beefy D. Beefy D. D like D ring, right? And then I did this, I sewed up this double dangler to go on it, and it's the two styles of webbing. On the outside it's the more flexible style of webbing, and here where it meets your belt, I have a more coarser woven webbing that I sewed on the inside on both of these loops. But this webbing right here is rated at like 2,000 or 3,000 pounds, but it's more flexible. So I just have that girth hitched on there, and then that goes on my belt. And then I got the belt, or excuse me, I've got the leg strap here. Okay. So yeah. Now this knife, I had told him, oh, and I put this on here as a holder so I could hold that and then pull the knife out. Help me to keep the sheath in place if I needed to pull the knife out there. Now I blued this. I blued part of the blade, as you can see, to enhance the colors. I got the idea from what Hunter did with my tops tracker. Now this is a bit larger than the tops tracker. It's 1/4 inch thick. I had him make sure that the back was a 90 for fire steels if I needed to. Has the saw back. He did not hardly sharpen this at all. It was basically it was started in that direction, and then I finished it. So it didn't come hardly sharp at all, which I was hoping it would come a little bit more sharper, but I had originally told him, I remember now, that that I was going to convex it. You know, it still needs to be sharpened a little bit more down in the lower section of the straight edge. It's still really sharp. Starting right in here, it starts to get really sharp, and then it's very, very sharp along the belly of the chopping section of the blade. But it won't take much more. You know, I've just been fiddling with it here and there over the few years that I've had the knife now. But the scales are micarta, and they are in coyote, coyote brown, coyote tan. Because I told him I wanted something to go with my coyote, or not my coyote, my desert tiger stripe uniform. I wanted something to go with that for the survival knife. Anyway, so I've got the lanyard here, and I've got this lanyard set up with the Duraflex cord lock. Duraflex cord locks are very, very tight, so they will pretty much stay where you set them. So I've got this set up to where I can use it with my bare hand or a winter glove, right? So if I want to use it for survival stuff in the winter, I can do that. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much it for this, my favorite knives show and tell, right? That's 4 videos. You guys could chew on those for a bit. If you have questions or comments, you feel free to let me know. I'll see you later.